Hey guys, happy Friday. Who is happy that it's Friday? Finally, it's been a long week for me. So today I want to talk to you about how you can use your weakness as a strength. How you can change in your mind that you are so weak in some areas and really see that no, those are your strengths. Before I start though, if you do not know me, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lynn Schrader, and I hop on here several times during the week, not for attention, but to tell you people what I have learned and really share my heart with you on some things that have changed my life and changed my way of thinking. I love to empower men and women to step outside of their comfort zone and begin living a life they could have never imagined. I give the biggest kick out of igniting a passion in people to think for things that are more and the next step in their life. So with that being said, I want to talk to you about using your weakness as a strength. Just this week I had a talk with one of my sons, actually both my sons, about the subject, and it was just about some things that they had been looking forward to and they were disappointed in. They had expected they would get a position or something like that, and they didn't get the position. And what is their first the first thing they started to do was to really diss themselves and to call out all of their weaknesses, and if they were only this way. And you and I do that a lot, don't we? We do that so much where if we take a picture of ourselves or we see a picture of ourselves, who do we look at in that picture first? 9 times out of 10 we look at ourselves first and we pick out all the bad things. You know, my nose looks too big, my eyes are squinty, my hair looks a mess, whatever. Even me doing this live video, I think, oh my gosh, Lynn, you need a haircut, you look awful. And I have to stop myself and say, stop. So I had that talk with my son this week, and I had to really sort of, speak some life into him and some truth into him and say, no, you look at your weaknesses, your so-called weaknesses, and you turn them into a strength. How you can really use those to bring value to people. So on top of that, then, I heard this metaphor that was so applicable in this situation. So let me tell you, I was a teacher, so it's important for me to understand what a metaphor is, right? What's a metaphor? I've heard that word, but what is a metaphor? Well, let me explain to you. A metaphor is a word or a phrase or a story that we take and we apply it to this inanimate object or thing and get it to relate to something we're trying to get a point we're trying to get across. And when really, literally, there's no correlation. So that's a metaphor. Here's some examples. My house is like a zoo. So your house really isn't a zoo, but they use that zoo as a picture for what their house is like. Or life is a roller coaster. No, life really isn't a roller coaster, but we get the picture. It feels like a roller coaster. Or America is a melting pot. It's not really a melting pot, but that gives us a visualization of what we're trying to say. So that's a metaphor. But let me tell you this metaphor that I heard that was so applicable to using your weakness as a strength. So it's a story of a woman who uses 2 buckets every day to walk down to the river and fill them up and walk back so she has water for her laundry, for her cooking, whatever. So she walks down to the water, fills the buckets up, and starts to walk back to her cabin. And every day, those 2 buckets look at each other, especially the one. The one is brand spanking new. It is not, it doesn't have any water stains on it. It's completely sealed. It is, the handle's in good shape. It's brand new and it's perfect. It is strong. The second bucket, though, is an older bucket, and it leaks. And it's water stained and it's faded, all those things that you can picture this wooden bucket. But it leaks, and it looks at the other bucket, and every day it feels less than, and it feels like it's a has-been. It feels like it came in second place. It feels unworthy. Now remember, this is a metaphor. This is using an inanimate object to get your point across. It feels unworthy. And one day it finally turns to the woman and it says, I've been leaking water every day for you. In fact, I probably leak a third of the water that's in your bucket every day. And I am so sorry for being cracked. And I'm sorry that I'm making your life more difficult. I'm sorry. You can get rid of me if you want. I'm sorry. And the woman stopped and she said, look around you. Look at this path going down to the water. Do you see all these beautiful flowers? I planted those seeds, and it was your water that was leaking every day that made those seeds grow into these beautiful flowers. So do you see that metaphor is a story of how we can use our so-called weakness and really know that they're strengths? So my question is, how do you personally judge the cracks in your bucket? I mean, if you stop right now and you think of the things that you don't like about yourself, it's a shame that we could automatically come up with probably 50. But what are those cracks that you don't like about yourself? We all have them, right? I say on my videos almost every time, we are perfectly imperfect. And what a weight off your shoulders that should be. Perfection is unattainable. So what cracks do you personally judge yourself by? I want you to reframe it and know that your cracks are needed. Your cracks can be wonderful for other people. I've got two examples. I work in a business where I have the pleasure of coaching women all the time. Lots of women. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. But I watch them, I either hear them or I watch them take their eyes off their lane. They're like that bucket that starts looking at the brand new shiny bucket that just looks perfect. And I coach them and I say, you've got gifts inside of you that nobody else does. There's no comparison. You have stories that no one else has lived through. You had a story from yesterday that I didn't live through. You had a story from growing up. They're not all good, but it's a story. And how can you use that for good? The second thing second part of that I can share is I have many friends that had awful things happen to them in the past. Even myself, I had some things that I went through, but I am able to use them. My friends are able to turn around and use them for good. And that, my friend, speaks volumes. Nobody wants to be coached or emulate somebody that looks like they're perfect, because it's not real. It's not real. The things that speak volume are your weaknesses. That's when you're sincere. That's when you're relatable. That's when you're real. That's when you're transparent. That's when you're genuine. And when you can act and live from a place like that, that's when you're confident in a humble way. Not in a, I'm all that and a side of fries too. That's not it. But you can be very confident. And this is the last thing that I will say. Confidence looks really, really good on you. It looks really good on me in a humble way. It's so attractive because you are okay with where you're at. Yeah, you might want better. You might have goals and dreams, and those are great, but you're okay with who you are. Or maybe you know you have to refine yourself a little bit, and that's a different story. So my challenge would be to you today, since it's Friday, is to maybe start jotting some of those things down, those so-called weaknesses, your leaky bucket weaknesses, and all the things you wish were different. And start reframing them, because that's what life is about. It's a reframe. We're always going to reframe things, otherwise we're going to be crabby or whatever. We have to reframe things. We have to look at things in a new perspective. But start looking at your list and reframing it and going, you know, I hate that about myself. No, I don't. I could use that to do this. That's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So if you got any value out of this video, I love to pay things forward. I read that metaphor. That metaphor spoke to me. So I'm passing it on to you. Pass this on to somebody who would need it. we got way too many people walking around and not liking themselves, not loving themselves, and just being feeling not worthy because of their cracks in their bucket. And I don't like it, and you shouldn't like it either. So anyway, pay it forward to somebody else and let them know about it. Tag them in this video, pass this video on. And here's the other thing, I'd love to know, are you watching this live? Are you watching this on replay? And what are your thoughts about this? Give me some feedback. What are your cracks that you know you can use for the good of the world? And that's it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back on someday. Thank you.